Hey everybody, boom, it is Simba the Speaker here, and you are at the Simba the Speaker channel. I am your guide to cleaning business success. And on this channel, I teach the remote cleaning business model, as well as we'll be adding in the remote house cleaning service, or remote house services model, in which you can not only, sell cleaning as a remote service, you can also sell other things like junk removal, window cleaning, pool cleaning, etc. Right? So if you're new to the channel, please definitely give me a subscribe or shoot me a subscribe. So click the subscribe button. Have it a cool kid say, give me a thumbs up. As well, you can put your bell notification on. I make videos and I release the videos every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. So yeah, so we are here with it. So what I'm gonna do today, we're gonna talk about the five potential marketing. I don't want to say marketing idea, but marketing avenues you can use to create a what you could use to bring clients to your remote cleaning business. So these are five different marketing avenues that you could use. They're gonna be paid and unpaid. We're gonna talk about a little bit of both, but I just want to maybe you're thinking about starting, or maybe you're a little bit nervous or confused on where to actually, or where or how to get clients for your remote cleaning business. So today we're gonna talk about five different ways to do that, and from there we will, we'll explore. Sounds good. I want to get straight to it. Once again, I was making some more videos, and because I like to talk, and like I feel like I'm just talking to you guys here, as if we're at like a conference. I've noticed that a lot of my videos tend to be a little longer, which I don't mind because it does offer a lot of value. But I also want to just kind of get straight into the information without being what I like to call a chatty patty and talking too much to you guys. Not necessarily too much, but like I said, just talking for a long time. I want to be able to give you guys a lot of value and information, and a lot of hacks. That's one thing I would always say with my videos. Maybe as of right now, they're not mainly going to be really like theatric, or have a lot of theatrics. But what I will do is, give you as much information as I can, and then without the fluff, without the sugarcoating. So, with that being said, we are going to talk about today 5 different marketing channels. Okay, so I'm trying to make sure the camera was right. 5 marketing channels. Right? So 5 marketing channels I want to talk about today, right? So we're going to talk about 5 different ways to gain clients. And, granted, there is a plethora of ways to gain clients. Today I want to just talk about 5 that are, there'll be a mix between paid and unpaid, but just 5 general ones that come to mind. And, I want to have you guys have this information, so this information can be utilized to get more clients yourself, right? And you don't have to always do all 5. You could, but what you also want to do is maybe figure out 1, 2 max, but I would say maybe 1 marketing channel that you just want to focus on. What is the 1 marketing channel that I want to conquer first, and then I'll switch to something else? A lot of times, and a mistake I made early on was doing too many marketing channels without making sure that the 1 marketing channel I started with was profitable. You can test, but preferably don't bounce from different marketing channels. Actually make sure that they're profitable, right? And some of the unpaid ones, obviously, like, I don't want to say obviously, I hate using that word, but some of the unpaid marketing channels, we know, because they're unpaid, right? Any type of I guess clients that we get from them is profitable, or it's technically profitable because we didn't have to pay for the actual, like, an ad platform. But understand that, and this is something that I've learned, you need to find out what your hour is worth personally. What is an hour of your time worth? Because the reason I say that, for example, we're going to talk about like door to door, right? Depending on how much you have recognized that your time is worth, and you can find there are calculations you can find to actually figure out what your time is worth. Plus, you can ask ChatGPT to give you like a formula that, and you can kind of use that. But once you figure out what your time is worth, yes, you don't have to put money into door to door, but you have to put in your time. And now once you figure out what your time is worth, you can technically see, theoretically, how much money are you spending on door to door, and you can see how much clients you're getting from it, and you can see, okay, is it a profitable marketing channel? So with that being said, that's why I always recommend just focus on one, make that profitable, go to the next one. I would say two max, but you want to be able to, check out the data that you'll be receiving from each marketing channels. For example, the cost of acquisition for a client. The client acquisition cost is actually what it's called. Client acquisition, CACS, CAC, client acquisition cost. And so once you know that, right, you know what your client acquisition cost is, data like that, how many inbound leads we're getting, right? It's a bunch of different data. I could go on and on about data that you'll need to figure out whether the actual marketing channel is actually profitable or not, or if it's worth it, right? But the reason I bring this up is because you having too many marketing channels while trying to maintain all this data, the average person won't be able to do that. It's not too efficient, truth be told, or effective. But beyond that, let's get into the marketing. Let's get into the marketing channels, right? I want to go straight into this video. So the first one I want to talk about is paid. This is one that you may have heard, or you may not have heard. It is the one I currently use now, Google LSA, which also stands for Local Service Ad. So for me, in my opinion, in terms of getting inbound leads, this is the number one channel when it comes to getting paid inbound leads. I think they work very well. And if you're not familiar with how Google local service ads work, when someone types in cleaner in Arizona, cleaner in Los Angeles in Google, right? Usually they have another thing called Google AdWords. So if you go into a Google, let's say you search something, you'll see something that says sponsored with the headline. That's Google AdWords. But Google LSA, depending on the service, because not for every service, is above the Google AdWords. And so what does that mean, right? A lot of time when a client is urgently looking for a solution, or urgently looking a solution to their problem, or urgently looking for a service, they usually go with some of the first option Google gives, right? And with Google LSA, it's not like it's just one person. A lot of times, a couple options. But because it's at the top, it's relatively used more. What does that mean, though, right? It costs more than Google AdWords. And why does it cost more? The thing about LSA that is different from AdWords, you can continue to tweak it based off information so that the cost of your leads go down, right? With LSA, what you can do with LSA is set a budget per lead. What are you willing to pay? Because you have to pay per lead with LSA, right? They send you a client, like I said, they send you a client maybe via phone call, via message, and you end up paying for that client. But what you could do is set a monthly cost, and you could also set a cost per lead that you're willing to pay. So you can set a monthly cost of how much you're willing to pay. You don't want to spend no more than this amount of X amount of dollars, and you can say per lead, I don't want to spend no more than X amount of dollars. And the reason I said it's good to check out one marketing channel is because realistically, right, you need to play around with that marketing channel to see what is a good cost per lead for you, right? So I'll give you an example. As I was running my business, I noticed that I was not profitable when the cost per lead was over $60 or $65. But I also learned that I wasn't getting any leads if I was paying, or if I wanted to pay at least $30 to $35 per lead, right? So that's what I mean by kind of knowing that data. You need to know where that sweet spot for you, right? So Google LSA, we have the monthly cost. You can adjust the monthly cost. You can adjust the cost per lead. It just costs more than AdWords, but I like LSA a lot actually. I think it works pretty well. You can set your geographic location to anywhere. So I was telling people in my previous videos, when you're starting the business, you don't have to necessarily start the business in the state that you reside in. So if you reside in Philadelphia, or let's say I live in Texas, but I want to have the cleaning business in Philadelphia, I can create the business and I could run these paid ads in Philadelphia, right? And then so another thing we like to do is you need to know when to adjust your budget. Actually, before I go into, I'm going to continue going with that, right? You need to know how to adjust your budget, right? You need to know what's a good amount of money to spend on marketing your off season versus your peak season, right? Your off season versus your peak season. So we're going to put how much to spend on off season versus your peak season, because you're going to need to make an adjustment in how much you would like to spend, right? If it's a slow season, why are we going to put thousands of dollars? Because the thing about Google is Google will use your money. I tell you that now. That's one thing you learn about Google Ads. They will make sure that that budget that you put is being spent. So you want to be careful so that you're not overspending in months that we know may not be that slow, right? I mean, in months that we know may be slow. Now, don't get me wrong. If a month is slow, you can try to counteract, or I guess to counter a slow month, you can put in more money, right, in the marketing. That is something you can do. You can put in more money in marketing to counter slow months, right? I believe there's an abundance of resources, abundance of clients. But you want to check the data though, and that's what I mean. You want to check the data. For some places, maybe by putting in more money in slow months, you get more clients. In other places, maybe in general, let's say everybody is snowed in, right? It might not be a lot of people looking to get a cleaning when we're having a blizzard or a snowstorm, right? And people may call and may inquire about cleaning after the snowstorm is over. But at that point, that money has been spent on marketing, and regardless of maybe if it takes a month or two, you're gonna have to pay the bill at the end of the month. So we have that, right? Like I said, you always want to track your data. And the last thing I want to talk about is you need to know your return on investment, right? So we're talking about the marketing channel. I'm trying to, for each marketing channel, I'm going to kind of try to just give some background information on how to use it, what you should do, what you should be looking for. So with that being said, you need to track your return on investment. What do I mean? So for let me say this, right? Let's go back to the client acquisition cost, right? Let's go back to the client acquisition cost. How much does it cost to get a client? And when you do get that client, so we're going to put client acquisition. I'll actually spell it out. How much does it cost to get a client? What does it cost to get a client, right? So what do I mean by that? I'm gonna try to put in some simple math, right? So let's say you spent $100 on ads, right? And so let's say you spent that $100 on ads, and that ad spend with that 100, it bought you, let's say, 4 clients. And then so it got you 4 clients, which means the client acquisition cost, give me a second. The client acquisition cost, right, would have been $25 per person. Right, which would equal $25 per client. But you realize that out of those 4 clients, right? 4 clients is who called you, messaged you, right? But out of those 4 clients, only 2 of them close. What does that mean? Our new client acquisition cost, so new CAC, equals actually $50, right? So we need to know what the return on investment, what the return on investment is, right? So we know our client acquisition cost is $50, right? But now, that also goes into pricing. Like, what are you pricing, right? So let's say it takes me $50 to buy a client, to get a client, technically to get a client to close, right? But for each client, I charged, let's say, $100 per client, right? So I know that I'm gonna at least make a profit of $50, right? So I can start kind of seeing like, okay, if that's the case, for every $100 I spend, right, and let's say it's 2 of them, it's 2 clients, so you get 50, a profit of 50 on one and a profit of 50 on 100 on the second one. Sorry, profit of 50 on one, and a profit of 50 on the second one, right? Because we got $50 for a new client cost of $50 for 2 clients. You charge 100, so we're gonna say 50 profit per client. So that's $100 profit total. So for every $100 I spend, I can make $200, which pays for, obviously you want to add the labor cost, but let's say, just for simple math terms, right? For every $100 I spend, I make $200 and I get $100 profit. So then for every $200 I spend, it all works out well, I should make $400 with $200 profit. So, that's what I mean in general. I won't go too, I'll make another video about going kind of getting into the nitty gritty about the return on investment, what you should be looking like, or what you should be looking at in terms of profit, client acquisition costs, labor, fees, all of that. I'll make a in-depth video on that. But nonetheless, right? So once you kind of figure out that math, now we know, like, okay, now I know potentially if I put in this amount of money, this would be my return on investment, right? For every $1 I spend, and you can obviously divide that. For every $1 I spend, I make $1.25, $1.50, $1.75, $2.75. And at that point, knowing your data allows you to know, like, okay, like, now I'm familiar with how much I can make, and actually I'm going on a little bit of a tangent, but this is what I mean by this business is very scalable, right? Because I can see my client acquisition costs. I know what it's gonna cost to get a client, so I know if I put in this much, I'm gonna be able to get this much client. They're gonna pay me this much, so my average profit is gonna be this. You can now scale it. Cause now, if I want to make more money, I know how much dollars I would need to. If I have an exact number, I want to make an extra $1,000. I can literally do the math on how much more money I would need to make, how much more money I would need to put in to make the extra money, right? But that's Google LSA. I know I went on a little bit of a tangent, but I like Google LSA a lot. But the only thing with paid ads, and the reason I went on the tangent is because you have to know the data. With all the marketing channels, you have to know the data, but especially when you're spending money on ads, you have to be able to be detailed and organized about the data to see if you're profitable or not, so you can even, if you want to, go on to another marketing channel. So, let's do number 2. So number 2, this one is unpaid. Another marketing channel is door to door. So this one is unpaid, but don't forget, it is sweat equity. Remember, it is unpaid when it comes to fiat cash, but you are going to have to use your time, and technically once you know what your time is worth, you know how much money you're really spending on this type of marketing. So we got sweat equity. Sweat equity means simply just doing the work yourself, right? Doing the work yourself. So now this way, it depends on how you want to do it, right? With this marketing channel, you'll probably want to have business cards or a brochure or flyer. brochure slash flyer, right? And you're gonna want to go to different houses at that point, right? So now this is where it does be, and this is what I mean. I'm gonna give you guys some hacks, right? I'm gonna give you guys some hacks. So, with door to door, right? You have door to door. A quick hack. If you live in a neighborhood, an easy way to kind of get the eyes of everyone within the neighborhood is yard signs. So that's technically you wouldn't be going door to door, but the door is in your neighborhood. Depending on how your neighborhood is set up, and if people have to drive by your house, obviously to get to their house, which more than likely somebody does, yard signs work perfect as well, right? Yard signs work perfect. If you live in an apartment building, you can put them around the yards of the apartment buildings, right? If there's any area that has like a grass patch or somewhere people have to drive past to see off the community of the mountain, you can use yard signs as well. So, if you have the time, let's say you work part time, if you have the time, right, you want to spend a couple hours a day going to different houses, right? Going door to door. Now, another hack too is usually people that are home at a certain time, right? So let's say people that are usually home while other people are at like work. Sometimes are usually some of the wealthy clients because they can afford to stay home or have their spouse stay home. Sometimes these are so and I'm gonna talk about why this matters, right? So you have the wealthy clients, and then you have retired or vets that are able to kind of stay home, right? And they're able to just relax. Sometimes you have older parents, grandparents. There's different reasons. The reason I bring this up is because all of these type of clientele, especially that stay home, one not usually have the resources to be able to pay for the cleaning, and two, see the value in it. Because imagine if I'm a person that stays at home all the time, I'm probably using the house more often than someone else. I would probably need a cleaning. If I'm retired or a vet, maybe I'm a little older, maybe I can't do an extensive cleaning, so that would probably benefit me as well, right? So those houses are some of the best houses because you can actually pitch, right? If no one's home, you can leave your flyer and your card. If they have an area to leave it, I think actually putting it in the mailbox is actually illegal, so you do not put it in their mailbox. But if there's somewhere to leave it, you can leave it. And don't get me wrong, that works as well. But there's nothing better than being able to actually pitch it yourself, and so that the client can see the conviction and the passion within what you're talking about. But going back to those with part-time work, right? You can do a couple hours a day going from door to door, right? You need to set a goal. You need to set a goal, right? How many houses? How many houses / doors do you want to hit? Set a goal. You need to set a goal of how many flyers, how many business cards do you want to get out, how many conversations do you want to have. Set a goal so that there is some type of intentionality when you're doing it. Don't get me wrong, going from door to door to door to door is cool, but you want to have a game plan when you're going door to door, right? It is still using your time, right? So you want to have a game plan when you're going door to door. Like I said, you have the signs that you can do as well. You want the business card, the brochure, and having a flyer door to door is pretty straightforward. Once again, another thing that you're gonna want to store data, and understand your ROI. What is your return on investment? My hour, if let's say I give you a quick example when I'm talking about this. Let's say I deem that per hour my time is worth $20 an hour, right? So let's say I'm out there for 5 hours, right? So I'm out there for 5 hours, which means technically I spent about $100 to acquire a client, right? Let's say at this point, out of the 5 hours that I was there, right? Let's say I was only able hypothetically to get one client. Actually, let's do this. Let's say 5 clients contacted, 5 clients were inbound, So they contacted us, but we closed one close. So this would mean it costs technically $20 to a client $20 to acquire a client, but the real acquisition cost. So we know that we're able to get 5 leads at $20 a lead because we spent about 5 hours, which is $100. But let's say we only close one, our real acquisition cost is $100. Okay. So with that being said, let's say we close that client for, remember I was saying we closed that client for $100, right? So at that point, there was no real profit. So this is what I mean by that, This is what I mean by, okay, you need to see what makes sense. Is it profitable? Obviously, you will charge a higher cleaning price, but that's what I mean by that, right? Like, you need to see how much the time is worth, right? And how many clients contacted you, how many did we close. Now we know exactly how much it really costs to get a client. It cost me $100 to get that one client, and I was only able to charge that client $100, right? Now, don't get me wrong, because it's not like advertisement. So let's say I charge the client $110, right? And I got $10 profit. That's cool. But it's like, we also want to start thinking in terms of abundance. Like, are we trying to get $10 profit? Or are we trying to get $200 profit, $300 profit, $400 profit, right? We want, profit that makes sense. So that's kind of the door-to-door structure. And another thing I wanted to say, right, because I was talking about those that are part-time. Now, if you are working a 9 to 5, if you are working, I'm gonna create a quick box for this. If you are working a 9 to 5, you can hire door-to-door salespeople. You can hire door-to-door salespeople, and maybe even get some. They have kids that make money by going door to door for different businesses. So you can hire some kids as well. You can pay them to go door to door while you're at work. But understand, by doing that, you raise the cost of you raise the cost of the actual channel, right? So if door to door is free doing it yourself, now it's not free if you have to hire somebody. Granted, it may still make sense, but we just want to keep that in mind so that when you're talking about the client acquisition cost and you're seeing your return on investment for that actual marketing channel, you know what you're dealing with. Keep the data. So like I said, data is important. So another one of my favorites, unpaid. I love this. Google My Business Profile, also known as GMB. Oh my God. GMB. This is a free unpaid. And this is pretty much your online profile with Google. Online business profile with Google. Now, so with this being said, right, you can really, I like this one a lot because it's unpaid and online. And the best way, so let's add that, unpaid and online. I like it because it can be optimized. How do you optimize your Google My Business profile? Photos, reviews. And maybe making posts, because you can add like posts in terms of like, hey, we're running a sale, running a discount, right? And so I like it because it's a free marketing channel in which you can optimize. The more photos that you add, the more photos, the more reviews and posts, the better it looks, right? The better it looks. And a lot of times, people use Google My Business Profile because Google My Business Profile, has a Google My Business Profile Maps as well, right? So it's like they have like they have where your business will show up on the map at the bottom of Google. And once they click it, then your My Business Profile pops up. And so this one really, right, it's creating the profile. You need to put in your obviously business name, number, email. How can you be contacted? People can message you as well. The different deals that you're having. You want to optimize that as much as possible. Those that post have a lot of photos on there and a lot of reviews tend to do very well. Google My Business Profile has a great ROI. I love it. And the reason I said that is because you don't even have to put a lot of time into it. You don't have to put a lot of time into it. The client acquisition cost is very low and the quality of the clients is very high. CAC is down. Quality of clients up. Right? So a lot of times to actually acquire the client, it's zero to very few bucks. Right? Zero to very few bucks. And the reason I say that is because you're not really even using your time, right? Door to door, remember I was saying door to door, you have to at least put in your time, or you have to hire somebody. Google My Business Profile is very straightforward. You don't need to hire anybody. You don't have to spend any time, right? The only thing, you just got to get people to give you reviews, which should be already part of your sales process, right? That's already be part of the sales process. The photos, your cleaner can send that over. You can upload that. To upload photos does not even take an hour of your time. So let's even say it takes 30 minutes and your hourly rate for yourself is $20. We're talking about $10. But then when you book a client, when you close a client, let's say you close the client for $100, it's a $90 profit. That's a $90 profit, right? Obviously, you have to pay for labor or whatever, but let's even say it's a $40 profit, right? Let's even say you pay $50 or $60 for labor and you kept $40. Granted, if you watch my previous video, we want to do 50-50. So let's say we paid the cleaner $50 and we kept $50 for ourselves. That's a 5x. That's 5x on our return. That is 5x for our return. So that means for every $1, 5x, for every $1 we spent, it brought us $5. Man, that is beautiful. 5x on your return, that is beautiful. So that's why I like Google My Business Profile. It's another marketing channel. It is free. You definitely should add that into your arsenal as well in terms of different ways to find clients. Make sure you set that up. Okay. So this is another one, another marketing channel, right? And I'm going to put website, right? Your website is your marketing channel. Like I said, you can add the website to Google My Business Profile, right? But the website technically is another marketing channel, right? The website tells the client who you are and the services you offer. Who you are, services offered, right? So the client can see that to see whether they trust you, whether they want to use your business, right? So a good website equals to increase of branding and trust. What do I mean by a good website? And I don't mean by a website with a bunch of words and a bunch of big words and a bunch of this, right? Sometimes, I don't know if you guys have ever heard it, the KISS rule, keep it simple, stupid. A good website is a website that has a lot of clear and concise information, right? Your website is probably going to have a home, a services, gallery, photos, about us, contact us, right? If you want to go a step further, you can have a apply here for cleaners or contractors. So this right here would make a client say, okay, like this is a legitimate website, right? And so when you're adding information to the what's that actually blog, this is a good one, you guys. This helps with SEO for Google. To rank higher when people are searching, like cleaning in Philadelphia or whatever. But when you have these tabs, right, you don't want to put too much information, right? You want to be able to make the information easy for the client to understand and digest, right? Understand, to read, understand, digest, right? And that right there is what would make a good website, right? And that's what would increase branding and trust with a client, right? I have a website that has everything, all the tabs I need. Plus, when I'm looking at the information is not hard to pick up. I see exactly what they're offering, where they're located, how to get in contact with them. To go a step further in terms of marketing, right? And that website is unpaid as well, right? This is the unpaid platform. You can have online booking. Man, it changes the game. Some of the highest booking prices I've gotten were from online bookings, right? You can have the online booking in which the client can book themselves. Which is also free. Now the client can book themselves. The acquisition cost of that is little to none, right? Maybe it's a little bit more when you're originally creating the website, or maybe paying for the website to be created. But over time, as clients come, especially if clients book by themselves, you make the money back. So you make your return on your investment, and then plus more, right? So online booking, client book themselves, right? So website is another good marketing channel, right? I know it's not one that people would consider, but it is a marketing channel, right? A website allows you to market what you do and who you are to clients, so clients could essentially book you, right? They could either book you, or if you wanted to even market some more, you can have the online booking, so clients know that they can take care of themselves. Sometimes clients like convenience; they don't really want to call, talk to somebody. Like, hey, I'll just pay for the booking. Just let me put in my information. I'm gonna pay. Just be here, right? So it's another good marketing channel. And so the last one I'm gonna end off with, right? So the last one I'm gonna end off with is, and this one I'm gonna call it paid. It is technically free, but I'm gonna call it paid because if you really want to automate this and get this going, you're gonna have to pay for some type of a software or some type of a platform to help you out with. We can do email, and SMS automations. So this is like email and text blast. It's a great way to market to clients. This is another great way to fill gaps in calendar. I'm gonna add to it using clients that booked before. So you guys, when we're getting information, right, like text, when we're getting actually like phone numbers and emails, even when a client doesn't close, you want to keep that information, right? Because sometimes you might have to do a follow up with them at least 6 or 7 times before they actually book with you, right? So with that being said, you can use clients that have booked with you because you have the information, right? You can use them to send an email and SMS blast that pretty much you can say, hey, we have 1 or 2 spots left and we're offering a certain discount for them. Or maybe you just want to put urgency, say, hey, we have 1 or 2 spots left, or we're doing this type of deal. If you do a deep cleaning, you get this, that comes with a deep cleaning, maybe a certain wax or a certain add-on, right? And so email and SML automations are great ways to be able to market to clients on a routine basis. So we can use email, SMS automations to fill in the gaps, right? We text, we send out email blasts, see who wants to book with us. As well, we can create a type of a schedule, so for an email or for a text to go out every so often, right? So we can market on a routine basis. That's why I said this is automation, though. This is all automation, and a lot of times you do have to pay for automations. So there is definitely an investment that needs to be made. But if done right, you can get a great return on your investment. The good thing is like you're spending money and not your time. You may have to spend the time a little bit to first build it out, or you can pay someone through Fiverr and Upwork. But with that being said, you may have to use your time just to get everything going. But after that, once it's going, you'll be good to go. And you won't have to put a lot of hours. Remember, if you watch any of my other videos, the goal is to only work 8 to 10 hours. Honestly, maybe even less a week, and that could be part of that 8 to 10 hours could be making SMS and email automation. That is something that could be delegated and given to someone else as well, right? So with that being said, right, we want to get those email and SMS automations, right? And so the point of doing that is to market the clients on a routine basis, email and text blast to fill in gaps within a calendar, and simply just to re-engage with our customers, right? We want to re-engage with our clients. A lot of times, for clients to even remember your name or your business, they would have had to had multiple encounters with you, right? That's why a lot of these companies spend millions of dollars on marketing, right? Because the point is, the more you see them, the more likely to see them or hear from them, the more likely you are to end up buying a product, right? Or spending money on a product that they offer, on a service that they offer, right? And a lot of times with email SMS, right, you have to, this is another one, you have to keep up with the data, right? Because sometimes one may work better than the other one for you, right? So with that being said, for example, SMS, because it's a text, may have a higher open rate than email, because some people maybe don't check their email as often, right? People are glued to their phone, so a minute a text comes in, they check the text, but a minute an email comes in, they may wait. So you really have to keep up with the data, because you have to see what's truly make you the most money, right? What has a high open rate? What has a high open rate, right? What is the cost? What is the cost to be able to acquire a client again? Now, good thing about this, especially if you're re-engaging with clients that already booked with you, you already paid the acquisition cost, right? So really, this acquisition cost is very cheap. If anything, the only thing you're paying for, obviously on a monthly basis, is probably the software cost, but the actual acquiring a client, let me tell you guys, and this is something you guys are gonna learn, right? There is a gold mine. There's a gold mine in your business, especially when you have clients that you've already serviced. And I learned that gold mine is all the clients that we've serviced and acquired before. And something I'm learning is that you can make more money selling to the clients you've already sold to, because they purchased from you, than trying to find a bunch of new clients to purchase from you. So yes, with that being said, like I said, email and SMS automations, email and text black to fill in the gap in your calendar, or just to get to market clients on a routine basis. You want to re-engage with the clients that you already talked to or service as well. And we have to make sure that we really keep up with the data, because this is very important, because email may work for you, SMS may not work for you, SMS may work for you, email may not work for you. You don't want to pour money into the wrong place. You want to be checking data like the open rate, open rate, and then we also want to check the response rate as well. But with that being said, so these are the 5 channels we talked about: email, SMS automation, website, Google My Business profile, door-to-door, and then Google LSA. I'm going to leave you guys with that. Once again, thank you for being here. I know I always try to make like a video that doesn't take too long, but then, like I said, I just get into the motion, get into my passion, and starts flowing. So nonetheless, what I'm going to do is leave this up here while I'll be posting this video. And then you could go in the video and actually take notes, screenshot, do what you need to do. Please give me a thumbs up if you like the video, or at least acknowledge my effort that I'm trying to give you guys value. And I believe that what I am saying is value and information that you can use to make an extra $10,000 to $20,000 a month, right? So thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Once again, I drop every Tuesday. I drop videos every Tuesday and Thursdays at 6 p.m. And yeah, be sure to be on the lookout as well. Check out my TikTok. I drop a lot of good content over there as well. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.